You know how you can send a message across the globe in, like, a second? It feels like total magic, right? But it's not. It's actually the end result of centuries of work. So today, we're going to peel back the layers of history and find out what really shrunk our world.
I mean, just think about it for a second. That coffee you're drinking right now, the beans, are probably grown in Colombia. And the phone you're holding, put together in China, but with parts from, I don't know, a dozen different places. We are all plugged into this giant, invisible web that connects every part of our lives, and we barely even notice.
So this all feels pretty normal to us, right? This super connected world? But was it always like this? And is it really as new as we think it is? Let's dig in and see if we can trace this all the way back to its roots. Okay, so first up, let's just get a grip on what this globalization thing even looks like day to day. And trust me, it can be pretty surprising. Seriously, just let that sink in for a minute. You get a parking ticket in New York City, and the person processing the data could be sitting in Ghana. A totally local problem is handled by someone thousands of miles away. That's what our world is now. Work can literally happen anywhere at any time.
So when we boil it all down, globalization is really just about distance getting smaller and smaller. And it's not just about, shipping goods. It's about ideas, culture, and yeah, even our problems. None of it stays put behind a border anymore.
So, what's actually powering all of this incredible high-speed connection? Well, it's a mix of technology and politics, and it all clicked into place a lot more recently than you might imagine.
All right, let's jump in the time machine for a second and look at the actual inventions that really kicked things in a high gear.
You know, it's kind of ironic when you think about it. So many of the things that connect us today were actually born out of a time of massive global conflict. World War II, for instance, put the development of jet engines, radar, and even the first computers on the fast track. And hey, even the humble shipping container, which completely changed how we trade, got its start in military logistics. Wow, right?
But this wasn't just about cool new tech. After the war, there was this huge shift in thinking. Politically, countries started to deliberately lower the walls, the tariffs, that made trade so expensive. And once those barriers dropped from around 40% down to 5%, well, that just opened the floodgates for the global market we live in today.
But hang on, to get to the real start of all this, we've got to go back even further. The 1800s were an absolute whirlwind. You had steam power totally taking over, on land with trains and at sea with steamships. And then you had the telegraph, sending messages across oceans almost instantly. I mean, for the very first time in history, the world was connected in real time.
I mean, just look at the leap between these two. The steam engine was a total game changer, no doubt, but it was about reliable, steady power. The jet engine, that's just about raw speed. That one jump in technology completely squashed our ideas of time and distance in a way nobody could have even imagined before.
Okay, so steam and jets made the world a whole lot smaller. But what about before all that? What connected people then? Well, let's peel back another layer and set sail into an age powered by nothing but wind.
Now, this might surprise you, but a lot of historians argue that the first wave of globalization actually started way before the steam engine. We're talking from the 1500s to the 1800s, when this brand new global network started to take shape, and it was all built on the back of wooden sailing ships. And this is such a cool idea, right? It basically says that our need to connect and trade across huge distances isn't some new thing. It suggests that pretty much as soon as we figured out how to cross the oceans, we started trying to build a global community.
You could call this globalization 1.0. You had these European empires using their big navies to stitch together trade routes that wrapped around the entire planet. And for the very first time, something happening on one side of the globe could directly affect people on the complete opposite side. And just check out the parallels to today. You had global supply chains, get this, silver mined in the Americas was fueling the economy in China. You had global institutions, like the Catholic Church, spreading its influence. You even had a common language for trade, Portuguese. Sure, the scale was smaller, but the fundamental idea, it was already there.
But that begs an even bigger question. What made any of this possible in the first place? I'm talking empires, cities, global trade, all of it. To find that answer, we have to go way, way back. Before ships, before empires, to what is maybe the single most important shift in all of human history.
Okay, this is it. The bedrock, the agricultural revolution. This was the moment we as a species stopped wandering and started settling down. And by doing that, we basically laid the foundation for, well, everything else.
Just try to imagine what a massive change this was. For thousands and thousands of years, humans were constantly on the move, following animals, following the seasons, and then we figured out farming. And suddenly, we could stay put. We could build actual homes, villages, communities. It was a completely radical transformation. And wasn't all good. It came with real trade-offs.
And what's fascinating is that this wasn't invented just once. It wasn't some brilliant idea that spread from one place. Nope. People figured out farming independently, all over the world, in places like the Fertile Crescent, China, the Americas. It was like a universal solution that different groups of people all discovered on their own.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to one word: surplus. Farming meant we could grow more food than we needed to eat right away. That surplus could support bigger populations. Those bigger populations started building towns and then cities. And those cities, they became the launch pads for everything that came next: empires, long-distance trade, and, eventually, the globalized world we live in.
So when you step back and look at the whole story, a clear pattern emerges, right? Human history is really just a story of connection, and that connection is getting faster and faster. It's the story of a world that is always, constantly shrinking.
It's really just a giant chain reaction. The forager becomes the farmer's surplus builds the city builds the explorer's ship, the explorer's sea route gets supercharged by the industrialist steam engine, and now we're the global citizens, living in the legacy of all of that, a world where we're all connected instantly.
So, here we are. After centuries of innovation, we've finally done it. We've built the tech to connect everyone. We've shrunk this huge planet down to the size of a global village. But it leaves us with one final massive question. Now that we're all neighbors, can we actually learn how to live together as one community?